Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the teleconference for February 3rd, 2022. This is the Libraries Facilities Financing Authority, LFFA board meeting, and immediately followed by the Library Joint Powers Authority, LJPA board meeting. These meetings will run back to back. If you'd prefer to join only by phone, please call 1-888-788-0099 and then slowly enter the webinar ID of 830-4322-5150. I'll now turn things over to Director Palacios to start the meeting.
Okay, thank you everyone, and welcome to our Library Facility Financing Authority meeting. Can we go ahead and call the roll?
Chair Carlos Palacios.
Here.
Vice Chair Jamie Goldstein.
Here.
Director Marlee Lago.
Here.
Director Matt Hoffaker.
Here.
Okay, I'd like to welcome all our new board members. I know Marlee Lago is joining us from the city of Scotts Valley. Welcome to this auspicious group. This is one of the fun meetings you get to do, and we also have Matt Hoffaker, who's joining us for the first time, although he's not new to us, coming from the city of Watsonville and now representing the city of Santa Cruz. And of course, we have our new library director, Yolande Wilborn, as well. Welcome, Yolande. And so we'll go ahead and start the meeting. Do we have any additional materials?
No, we do not.
Okay, so then we'll go to oral communications. Do we have any oral communications from the public?
Director Palacios, there are no oral communications from the public.
Okay. With that, we'll go ahead and go into item number 5, which is the Executive Director's Report.
Thank you, Chair Palacios, members of the board. I have submitted a written report today in your packet, which updates our facilities timelines. In addition, I have a couple of things that I just wanted to make you all aware of. We on January 29th, 2022, there was a fire inside the Bransford Library job site. The fire was caused by rags that spontaneously combusted due to improper disposal and storage. Fortunately, the fire did not do much damage. The fire department arrived on the scene. They were able to clear things up fairly quickly. The fire department came out and ensured that the contractor JPB was established protocols for proper storage and disposal, and all damaged materials from the fire and smoke are the responsibility of that vendor, JPB, and they are to be replacing things at their cost and not at cost to the city. In addition, any scheduled delays due to rework are also going to be the responsibility of the contractor. In addition, I'd just like to give you a little quick update on the downtown mixed use project. Our library team began work with Jason Architecture firm to design the space inside the library. We're currently working on the staff areas, and then we'll be moving into the public areas of the library. And with that, I'm happy to take any other questions that you might have.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions from board members? Okay, I don't see any. So I believe we'll go ahead and move on to item number 6, which is project updates and comments by board members. Do we have any updates or comments from board members? We don't? Okay. We'll go ahead then and move on to item number 7 on our agenda, which is the consent calendar. Are there any questions or comments on the consent calendar from the board? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to the public. Are there any comments from the public on the consent calendar?
Chair Palacios, there are no public comments.
Okay, great. So we'll come back to the board and I will take a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll move consent.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Board member Goldstein and board member Huppecker. Take a roll call vote.
Director Palacios,
Yes.
Director Goldstein,
Aye.
Director Lago,
Yes.
Director Hafaka.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. We will then move on to item 8, which is general business. The first item is to elect a chair and vice chair. Very nice, because I got shanghaied into being chair after Martine left. So happy to turn that over again. This is a procedure that we rotate the chair, and I believe the board chair will be rotating to the City of Scotts Valley, and the vice chair will be this County of Santa Cruz. Do we have a staff report or any comments on this item, on item A?
I just would like to, with regard to the staff report, I know that there was a mix rotation, so this kind of got off schedule. So if the board would like to discuss or alter the rotation, that's fine. I'm open for everyone to do discussion, and the staff is happy to follow your recommendation on that.
Any discussion? Do you feel, board member Legault, you feel fine to take over as chair? It doesn't have a lot of responsibilities other than chairing the meeting and reviewing the agenda.
I'm perfectly happy to do so, but I don't want to skip over the City of Santa Cruz if Matt is wanting to take on the chair role, since.
So
I have no strong desire to do so, Molly. But I'm welcome to hear the thoughts of the board.
I was going to suggest, I think that for our new members, we could just hit pause for a year and then pick back up with the cycle, or sort of change the cycle, just because these are your first board meetings and kind of getting a rhythm for what we're doing. I'm totally fine with that. If that would mean that Capitola would end up going out of order, and then we would pick back up after this year. So I think everyone's saying that anything works. So I'm okay with that if that's the will of the board as well.
Okay. So
Sounds like Molly is okay with taking it on.
yeah.
And that rotation, works for me as well. So I would be willing to make a motion consistent with that Molly would roll on as chair, and Santa Cruz County with board member Palacios as vice chair.
Okay, and we'll thank you for that motion. And before we act on it, we'll take public comment on item A.
Chair Palacios, there are no public comments.
Okay, so we have a motion to.
I'll second the motion.
Yes, motion and second to go along with staff recommendation on the rotation of the board chair. No further comment. Roll call rather.
Director Palacios,
Yes.
Director Goldstein,
Aye.
Director Lago,
Yes.
Director Hafaka.
Aye.
Okay. Director Legault, would you like to take over this meeting or start at the next meeting?
I would prefer to start at the next meeting if you don't mind.
Okay, that's fine. So we will go ahead and go to item B, which is our financial statements. It's actually the basic financial statements. I haven't heard that one before. The basic, they're not the fancy financial statements. Okay. So we have Edith Driscoll here, I believe, to comment on that. So we'll, our auditor, controller, treasurer, tax collector for the county. and we'll go ahead and turn it over to her for staff report.
Good morning. Thank you, Edith Driscoll. And for this entity, I am your treasurer controller. And the basic financial statements means that entities such as yourself have a mandated set of basic financial statements that get prepared each year. And so it's just a phrase that gets used. So so to go backwards a little bit, your board contracts with an outside entity. I think we might have title mixed up. So actually what this is this is the quarterly report. Quarterly, I come to you with the information reporting the funds as they exist at the Bank of New York, which is where your bond funds are being held. And so attached are statements that we provide again every quarter, reflecting two different reports, providing you the information in two different ways. The first report shows at the end of the second quarter, December 31st, it reflects the bond money that has come in, and we've broken it down into the two different bond series that your board has issued, and reflecting the four different entities and the activity for those bonds. And then rolling on to page 18, you see the same information, but we've also included the special tax distribution. People have asked for the numbers presented in different ways. So these are two different ways in which to present the information. That is the end of my report. I anticipate coming back to you at the end of the third quarter if you have any questions.
Okay, are there any questions or comments from board members on item B, our financial statements and independent auditors report? Okay, go to the public. Are there any comments from the public on this item?
Director Palacios, there are no public comments.
Okay, so I'll take a motion to accept and file the financial statements as of December 31st, 2021.
Okay, so to be clear, this is the quarterly financial statement, right?
It's
So they
the
look like the
quarterly-
heading for this item was a little bit.
Correct. It was just a misstatement on probably my staff's part. Since we were doing two financial documents back to back, the title wasn't changed. So this really is just your second quarter financial report reflecting the activities for the funds.
Okay, so I move we accept and file the second quarter financial report as presented by staff and presented in the packet.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Director Palacios,
Yes.
Director Goldstein,
Aye.
Director Lago,
Yes.
Director Haferker.
Aye.
Okay, that's approved unanimously. We'll move on to item 8C. This is the basic financial statements and independent auditors report for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2021. And I'll turn it over to our treasurer.
Controller.
Ms. Driscoll.
Thank you, Edith Driscoll. This time I'm back for the annual financial statements. And again, you're familiar with this because each of your own entities receive an annual audit and therefore annual financial statements. And the date of this is June 30th, the end of the fiscal year. And so I would go back and remind you that your board has contracted with Brown Armstrong to conduct these audits. And we have a 3-year contract with them, and it looks as if I'll be coming back to you shortly to either extend that audit contract or do an RFP, since this is the third of their 3-year cycle. As we look at the financial statements, I want to just draw your attention to the opinion of the external audit firm. And if we go to page 23 and page 24, the top of page 24, they give their opinion, which is the most important thing for you to draw your attention to. In our opinion, the basic financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material aspects the respective financial position of this entity. And that's the most important thing. If they had any issues or concerns, they would be presenting it here in an additional paragraph. And again, this has been in your packet. So as you look through the basic financial statements, you've had an opportunity to see the assets listed and the liabilities. This is an entity that has the purpose of receiving special taxes, receiving bond funds, and allocating them back out to your entities. So that is the only activity of this fund. That's the end of my presentation. I'll be bringing it back again in another year. If you have any other questions, I'm available.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there questions from the board? Director Goldstein.
I have a quick question, and this may be something that we have to answer offline, but are we going to need to continue the LFFA meetings every board meeting, or going forward, will we be able to go to maybe a once a year cycle? Because I think we're sort of getting to the point where basically all we're doing is approving the minutes and at most meetings.
So as you look forward, it's always at the will of your board and the will of whatever your formation documents were. So I would direct you back to that. The chart, I'm putting my auditor hat on here, and I'm going to say the charge of this entity is to safeguard. I always call it safeguard the assets of the taxpayer. And so I charge you with safeguarding the assets of these funds. And I would be hesitant about doing that on an annual basis while we're in an active state. You still have the anticipated third bond issuance coming up in the next year or two based on the needs of the city of Santa Cruz. So you're going to be actively issuing additional bonds, and we are actively dispersing funds out to you as entities. And I would encourage you to do that in a public forum, the oversight of that. A number of years from now, when you're done issuing bonds and we are simply servicing that debt, might be a more appropriate time to delay meetings, but I would go back to the formation documents.
Yeah. So it sounds like at this stage you're suggesting we continue with the regular schedule.
I'll be preparing those reports. Yes.
Okay.
I would like to have some place to send them to.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from board members? Okay, going to the public. Are there any comments or questions from the public?
Director Palacios, there are no public comments.
Okay, I'll take a motion to accept and file the financial statements for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2021.
I move we accept and file the basic financial statements as presented by staff and presented in the packet.
Okay.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Director Palacios,
Yes.
Director Lago,
Yes.
Director Goldstein.
Aye.
Director Hoffaker.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. We're moving on to item number 9, which is scheduled upcoming meetings. On April 7th, we're scheduled to meet at 9 a.m. for a hybrid meeting in Felton. So we'll be able to come in person for that meeting.
We are hoping so. COVID willing.
Okay, so with that, we'll go ahead and adjourn the LFFA meeting. Oops, I see Jamie disappeared. Jamie, are you there or okay, we'll go ahead and call to order the meeting. Roll call.
Director Palacios,
Here.
Director Goldstein,
Here.
Director Lago,
Here.
Director Hoffaker.
Here.
Okay, thank you. Meeting is called to order. Are there any additional materials or corrections to the agenda?
There are none.
Okay, so that's item 2 and 3. Are there any public comments from in the public at this point?
Director Palacios, there are no public comments.
Okay, we'll go ahead and move to the report by the library director, item number 5 on our agenda.
Thank you, Chair Palacios. I have included a written report for your review in the agenda packet. I would like to call attention to a couple of things. First of all, I would like to give a big thank you to Eric Howard for all of his help and support as I have onboarded here at the Santa Cruz Public Libraries. His work as interim director has been exemplary, and I think the staff have really appreciated it. So I really want to take the time to acknowledge that and his help as I've onboarded. I'd also like to acknowledge the passing of longtime library staff member Andrew Phipps. He passed away on January 13th. And will be sorely missed in our library information technology department. Our deepest sympathies go out to his family and friends. In addition, in your packets, you'll see that I've included information about our current list of vacancies. We are beginning to gear up and hire as we plan to be opening the Garfield Park and Boulder Creek branches. We'll need to ensure that we have staff in place who are trained and ready to perform their jobs. And then as well as the IT manager position, which is a critical position for us as we complete our buildings with regard to our IT infrastructure. We need to ensure that we're keeping up with that. And then just looking forward, we want to make sure that we're prepared. And I want to, I know there's a strategic plan document or video that's going to be played for you later on today in the meeting. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have at this time.
Thank you very much. Are there questions for Director Wilburn from the board? Okay, I don't see any. Are there any public comments on item number 5, the library director report?
There are no public comments.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll go ahead and move on to item number 6, which is a report by Friends of the Santa Cruz Public Libraries.
And Bruce Cotter is here. Hang on just a moment.
Good morning, Director Palacios. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you. Thank you. Good. Welcome.
Thank you. Nice to see you again. Nice to see you, Director Goldstein. Nice to meet you, Directors Legault and Huffaker. And my name is Bruce Cotter. I'm the Executive Director of the Friends of the Santa Cruz Public Library. I have a relatively brief report today, which largely consists of variations on the 3 words, "We did it." We received the gift that took us over the top of our campaign goal on Christmas Eve, December 24th. And we have now raised a total of $1,035,000 for the Aptos, Branciforte, and Garfield Park libraries. In addition to meeting that overall goal, we met the individual goals for Aptos and each of the city branches. Also, the campaigns that were run in memory of Allison Endert and in honor of Mike Rotkin also exceeded their targets. So we continue to be grateful for the generosity of the people of Santa Cruz. We had well over 500 gifts in the course of this campaign, and just an astonishing result. As is noted in Director Wilburn's report, we held a press conference on January 26th in front of the library offices in Santa Cruz to announce the successful completion of the campaign and also to begin kind of the ongoing conversation about the downtown project. I will note that the event received very positive coverage on both the evening and morning news, as well as in Lookout Santa Cruz and other media sources. Our speakers included Director Wilburn, Janice O'Driscoll, our president, our committee chairs, Martha Dexter and Tricia Wynn, and supervisors Zach Friend and Ryan Coonerty, and we were grateful to all of them for their efforts. Over the next few weeks, besides taking a deep breath, we will be meeting as a committee to review our process from 2021, see how it illuminates what we will be doing in 2022. The full board will be dedicating our February meeting to strategic planning regarding the downtown mixed-use facility and our ongoing efforts in support of that project. And finally, we will be participating in the library strategic planning process. So that is the entirety of my report, unless you have any questions for me.
Well, thank you, Bruce. Truly is an amazing result. It's almost unbelievable how successful you've been, especially during this time of pandemic and so forth. But congratulations. Thank you to all the friends. Please convey our deep gratitude for all that you have done on behalf of the library. It's truly an amazing community effort, and we're just so pleased with all that you have done. So thank you. Any comments from other board members?
Just second your comments, Board Member Palacios. Bruce, it's a major achievement. The community is going to benefit from the investments that are made at those branches for many years to come. It's hard to fathom the number that was achieved, particularly in these challenging times we're in. So I just want to really applaud the work that you and the friends were able to accomplish, and look forward to seeing the projects move forward.
Thank you very much. I will pass your comments on to my volunteers and my board. We appreciate it. They did a fabulous job.
Yeah, I just want to say congratulations. That's very impressive.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. We do appreciate it. Okay, we'll go ahead and are there any public comments on the Friends report?
Director Palacios, there are no public comments.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll go ahead and move on to our next item, item number 7, which is report by the Library Advisory Commission.
And Lindsay, if you're here, could you raise your hand, please? Director Palacios, I'm not sure that Lindsay is here.
Okay. If she does come later, we can go back to that item on the agenda.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so for now, we'll skip item number 7, go to item number 8, which is comments by board members. Are there any comments? In fact, in the future, Director Wilburn, one of my process improvement initiatives during my reign as chair is to get rid of item 8. I don't know how it came about. And it's just like comments by board members. And of course, no one has any comments ever. So it's just, I don't know what the history of it was, but I would like to see if we could eliminate that from the future agendas.
We will work on that.
Okay. Director Goldstein was going to give us the history.
I think it may have been there just as an intent for any general comments or also future agenda items, but no great loss one way or another.
Okay, great. So we'll move on to item number 9, which is the consent calendar. Are there any comments from board members, questions, or any item that a board member would like to remove from the consent calendar? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move to the public. Are there comments from the public on the consent calendar?
There are none.
Okay, we'll go ahead and bring it back to the board for a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I would move approval of the consent calendar.
Second.
Okay, motion and second, Huppaker and Goldstein. Roll call vote.
Director Palacios,
Yes.
Director Goldstein,
Aye.
Director Lago,
Yes.
Director Hoffaker.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Motion is approved. We'll go on to general business, and this is the election of the chair and vice chair for 2022. And I imagine we'll follow along with the recommendation that we just approved in the financing authority. If that is true, assume that is, that we'll just go ahead and take any public comment on this item.
Chair Palacios, there are no public comments.
Okay, so I'll bring it back for a motion to approve Scotts Valley as the incoming chair and Santa Cruz County as the vice chair.
That's the record. Yes, that's my motion.
Okay,
I would second that motion.
okay, we have a motion and a second. Goldstein and Huffaker. Roll call vote.
Director Palacios,
Yes.
Director Goldstein,
Aye.
Director Lago,
Yes.
Director Hoffaker.
Aye.
Okay, great. Thank you. And we'll move now to item number 12 on the agenda, which is presentations. This is the progress and the future of the library strategic planning by Diane Cohen, librarian and marketing manager for the Santa Cruz Public Libraries. Director Wilburn, I don't know if you're going to introduce this item.
Yes, we've been working on our strategic plan. The staff have been doing a great deal of work. And Diane has been sort of the in charge in leading that strategic planning process. She has prepared a video, which we have sent out to our partners on February 10th. We will be meeting with our partners at the Capitola Library. We're going to spread out in the meeting rooms and the community room in order to capture their input on the barriers that we face to providing services, the aspirations that the community has for our libraries, and to help us to understand how we can plan and create goals that help the community achieve those aspirations. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Diane Cohen and the video.
Thank you very much, Yolande. Thank you, directors, for having me. And I believe Moderator Jones will be playing the video for us, and then I'll take questions. My name is Diane Cowan, and it is my pleasure to give the Library Joint Powers Authority this update on the strategic plan, our process, and our progress. The library's mission to connect, inspire, and inform, and vision to transform lives and strengthen communities is what has been guiding our activities for the last 3 to 5 years. And just a reminder about the goals for this plan: to update the library's understanding of the needs of the community, to reflect on the changing nature of librarianship and review how this fits with the library's mission, values, and previous strategy, and to develop a 3-year plan to bring into alignment the library's resources and operations with its mission and values. On February 10th, we'll be meeting with community partners to develop goals for the plan. The goals for that meeting: making sense of community data together, listening to the needs and aspirations of our partners, and to develop 3 goals that we'll be using in our strategic plan to guide us for the next 3 years. In August 2021, we convened a team of 11 staff to lead the process. After reviewing the previous process for strategic planning, the team set out to find strategic plans from other organizations and list what we liked and didn't like about those plans. And then we came up with a list of elements to either include or avoid. The team identified this list of groups to prioritize for input on surveys and community conversations. Team members then began to document contacts we might have in these groups to help solicit input. At our all-staff training day in October 2021, we conducted a SOAR exercise with staff to help identify our strengths, opportunities, aspirations, and results as an organization. Aspirations reflect the goal for the library system. Results reflects what the library system would look like if we achieved our aspirations. We also did a values exercise on staff day where we listed and prioritized personal values and organizational values. There were a lot of ties between different values during the prioritization process, so we may want to refine that a bit as we continue. It's interesting to see that the top 3 organizational values really get to the heart of what libraries do: access, intellectual freedom, and service. The Harwood model provides a framework, process, and tools to understand shared aspirations among community members, perceived barriers to achieving those aspirations, and the best path forward to make those aspirations a reality. It's a model that's growing in popularity among libraries nationally, and it's supported by the American Library Association. The program encourages its participants to turn outward to authentically engage members of the community to understand people's aspirations. We also used an abbreviated survey tool provided by Harwood that we administered in person and online. We shared this survey with our contacts in the prioritized groups in an attempt to get the most diverse responses possible. The survey was also administered in person at homeless encampments, in senior living facilities visited by our bookmobile, and of course in library branches. We coded the feedback we received from the surveys and all of the community narratives and put the major themes into a format provided by Harwood that's intended to create a narrative of community aspirations, barriers to achieving those aspirations, and changes that need to happen to make those aspirations a reality. We developed 3 narratives that we will discuss more fully at the February 10th meeting. These 3 narratives and the themes represented in them informed our decisions about the type of community data from the census and the community assessment project to include in our presentation on February 10th as well. Together, the narratives say people want to live in a community that is supportive, inclusive, and safe, but they're concerned that the siloed nature of our public life, the lack of economic and cultural diversity in leadership positions, and the fear people have around being vulnerable in public spaces is a barrier to increasing community feelings and safety. And that concludes this update for the Library Joint Powers Authority. And we will open up for questions.
Okay, thank you very much for the report. Do you have further comments?
Director Palacio, before we open it up for questions, we received a question at the January 24th Library Advisory Committee meeting about the format of the strategic planning document, and I'd like to answer that for you all here, if that's okay.
Yes, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. So the question was about the format of our current strategic plan, which is a 1-page document that also has a 3-page supporting document about the process and background. And 1-page strategic plans are used across the library industry, as well as in other industries in both the nonprofit and for-profit sectors. We opted for this 1-page document in 2017 after reading the book Nonprofit Strategy Revolution by La Piana Consulting. This title was recommended by a Chamber of Commerce member who was participating in our strategic plan group in 2010. So the 1-page strategic plan is a useful tool to keep staff focused and offer a high-level view of priorities to the public. It's a succinct way to communicate a quick overview of our core purpose, where we're going, and how we intend to get there. It's not effective for staff to interact with a very long document when we're planning services, programs, seizing opportunities, or responding to challenges. The current strategic planning process will certainly result in a document. Our planning team has not yet decided what format the document will take. We reviewed a lot of other strategic plans, and it's likely that we'll include more information in a supporting document once again. And then we will, of course, make that available on our website. However, we will use a 1-page plan for most communications with staff and the public. And we intend the plan to be iterative, frequently reviewed and revised as community needs and technologies change. So as such, it's going to be a living document that's going to change over the life of the plan. And also, the library has no plan to use Gale's analytics on demand. Thank you. That is the end of my response.
Okay, thank you very much for the report. It looks like a great process, and I think that strategic planning I've always felt is very, very important for an organization. I would personally like to see how we're going to incorporate the goals that come out of the strategic plan into our annual budget process, because the budget ultimately is how we express our values, because that's where we put our money, and hopefully it's tied in some relatable way to the strategic plan so that those overall goals are actually being invested in. So I think that would be a next step, is to tie through the budget process the goals that we come out of our strategic planning process. And I certainly would offer Nicole Coburn, who's our Assistant County Administrative Officer and who's led our county strategic planning process, as a resource for you folks about how we've tried to tie our budget to our strategic plan so that the investments align with our values, our stated mission and values. Other board members, questions, comments?
I would just echo Director Palacios' comments. It's an exciting and important next step. Look forward to seeing it bear fruit, and of course, aligning it with our budget priorities as we move into the budget process. So thank you for your leadership on this front, and I really appreciate the way in which you're being intentional around both engaging the community, but as well as our library team members. So I look forward to seeing it move forward.
I have a quick question. Can you remind me of the timeline to complete this next version of the strategic plan?
I believe we are hoping to bring the next draft of the strategic plan. Let me just take a look at my timeline. Well, we had originally hoped to seek board approval for the final plan by February 22nd. I don't think that is going to be a realistic date, and probably it would be at the March board meeting then.
Correct. Our intention is to bring the first draft of that plan to the board at that time. We got a little behind because of COVID. We originally had planned on doing this partners meeting in January. However, due to COVID, we had to change things up. And so we pushed it back to the 10th. Our partners actually were very interested in coming in person. And so we've waited to have a little bit more of the curve dropping to be able to have everyone come to the Capitola Library and participate. And the really great thing that happened because of that is initially we had about 15 partners who were scheduled to come. And we currently have 20 that are planning on attending now on the February 10th date. So we're really excited that we've been able to draft and bring in some additional community members, even though the plan has been delayed.
If I could just add one little piece to around that timeline. Our hope is to we will bring back a summary of that conversation with the community members to the LAC when they meet on February 28th. And then we'll have a conversation with them about those goals as well. And then the internal team is really tasked with looking at the action steps. So, to your point, Carlos, we will link up the goals with the budget and then to bring back that work to the April 7th meeting.
Great. Other comments, Director Goldstein?
Thank you. So I think one idea, and I think you would want to flesh this out during the course of the process, but I've often thought that there's a lot of room for potentially tighter collaboration between the libraries and then the city recreation departments. I know that they have slightly different missions, but there's also obviously a lot of aligned purposes. In Capitola, there historically was never really any connection between what the library was providing in town and then what our recreation programs were doing. Capitola's recreation program, we have new leadership there, and we've really been doing a lot of interesting things in the last couple of years. So, I'd like to see the planning process play out strategically, organically, but I also do have a particular interest in this sort of avenue, maybe a way to leverage the library's assets as well as city assets a little bit. So hopefully it's something that people can look into and think a little bit about as you're doing the work. So thank you.
That's a great suggestion, Jamie. I think there really is a lot of alignment there, and I know our parks department would also be very interested in aligning some of their activities with yours. As I can see other directors nodding their heads as well. That's great. Any other comments from board members? Okay, we'll go to the public. Are there public comments on this item?
Chair Palacios, I believe there is a comment, and I would like to remind the public if you could please put your item number ahead of your comment. That will help me make sure that I get your comment read at the correct time. So the first comment comes from the Zoom user Judy Riva. It says, is that meeting open to the public? It's in a public library. If not, can it be recorded for transparency's sake? And that ends the public comment.
Okay, there's no other public comments?
There are no further public comments.
Okay, can staff briefly address that issue?
Go ahead.
So we have scheduled a specific number of partners to attend the meeting. And we've got a balanced group right now. The public is certainly welcome to come into the library, but we've sort of already scheduled this. We're happy to take input from the public and meet with them. I've been meeting with members of the public and certainly can add their input. But for this particular meeting, we do have a planned and scheduled agenda set. With the COVID protocols, we want to make sure that we are keeping our group to a smaller group. We are going to be starting before the library opens. And so as this is part of really our library team's strategic plan, we're trying to gather information from those community partners. As you know, we've already, Diane mentioned that we had already sent surveys out to the community, and we do still have those surveys available. And so Diane, we can certainly send that survey to this particular member of the public, and they're welcome to complete that survey and send us back the information that they would like to provide.
And then too, just for transparency's sake, we are, as I mentioned earlier, reporting out everything that comes from that meeting to the Library Advisory Commission on February 28th.
Great. So it sounds like the February 28th meeting of the Advisory Commission is a great place for the public to attend and get update on the outcome of those meetings. Great. Any comments from board members? I don't believe we need to take action on this. This is just a report. So, okay. So with that, we'll close this item, move on to item number 13, which is scheduled upcoming meetings, April 7th, 9 a.m. at the Felton Public Library. Hopefully we'll be doing that in a hybrid fashion so that we'll hopefully be able to attend in person. I would urge the board members to try and make it to there. It's a beautiful facility if you haven't seen it, and really an example of what we've been able to achieve with our rebuilding and new library efforts. So we'll try and make it there. And I understand we're hearing rumors from the state that they're likely the state is to relax or rescind its indoor masking rule sometime within the next month. So I think that's what the rumors we're hearing anyway. So it's likely that we're going to be able to gather more frequently in person. we may still have masks and, because we, as a library, we could still require that, but I just let you know that the state appears to be on the verge of relaxing some of the indoor masking rules. Okay, with that, we'll go ahead and adjourn our meeting unless there's any other comments. Okay, I don't see any. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate, and we will see you soon. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.